Dr. Tae-ho Kim rubbed his tired eyes and looked at the clock on the wall of the medical bay. 3 days. 3 full days without proper sleep. The numbers on the digital display seemed to blur together as exhaustion weighed down on his shoulders. Like a heavy blanket, the medical facility on New Busan Colony buzzed with constant activity. Alien patients filled every bed and occupied every corner of the room. Some had green skin that looked like tree bark. Others had tentacles instead of arms. A few had eyes that glowed in the dark like tiny stars. Each species needed different types of medicine and care. Tae-ho moved from one patient to another with mechanical precision. His white medical coat was stained with various colored fluids that came from treating different alien beings. The Galactic Council had sent human medics to 12 different worlds as part of their latest mission. They called it humanitarian work. But Tae-ho wondered if they just wanted humans to do the jobs nobody else wanted to do. The translator device on his belt beeped constantly as patients tried to communicate their pain and symptoms. Most of the time the device worked well. Enough. Sometimes it failed completely, and Tae-ho had to guess what was wrong based on pointing and gestures. He stopped at his workstation near the back wall of the medical bay. Bottles of medicine lined the shelves above his desk. Medical tools were scattered across the surface. His computer screen showed a long list of patients waiting for treatment. The numbers kept growing instead of getting smaller. Tae-ho sat down heavily in his chair and put his head in his hands. His body ached from standing for so many hours. His stomach growled because he had forgotten to eat again. The other human medics were just as tired as he was. They moved through the facility like walking ghosts. A soft sound caught his attention. It was different from the usual noise of the medical bay. Not the mechanical beeping of machines or the harsh voices of alien patients demanding attention. This sound was gentle and sad, like a baby crying. Tae-ho looked up from his desk. The sound came from somewhere near the floor. He pushed his chair back and leaned forward to look under his workstation. There on the cold metal floor was a creature, unlike anything he had seen before. It was small like a house cat, but its body was covered in scales that looked like pieces of crystal. The scales caught the light from the overhead fixtures and threw tiny rainbows across the floor. 2 delicate wings spread from its back. The wings were so thin they looked like soap bubbles ready to pop. The creature looked up at Tae-ho with large eyes that seemed ancient and wise. Too wise for something so small and young. The eyes held intelligence that made Tae-ho feel like he was being studied and measured. Most alien species that came to the medical bay were afraid of humans. They would try to hide or run away when human medics approached. But this little creature did not move away. Instead, it took a small step closer to Tae-ho. The crying sound came from the creature again. Now that Tae-ho was closer, he could hear that the sound had patterns to it. It was not just random crying. The tones went up and down in ways that reminded him of music, or maybe language. The creature swayed slightly as if it was having trouble staying upright. Its crystal scales had lost some of their bright shine. The gossamer wings drooped toward the floor. Tae-ho got down on his knees to be at the same level as the small being. He moved slowly so he would not frighten it. The creature watched his movements but showed no fear. If anything, it seemed hopeful. As Tae-ho reached out his hand, the creature collapsed. Its tiny body hit the floor with barely any sound. The crystal scales lost their rainbow glow and became dull like old glass. The delicate wings folded against its body. But the creature was still breathing. Tae-ho could see its small chest rising and falling in rapid movements. The crying sounds continued, but they were weaker now. More desperate. Tae-ho had treated hundreds of different alien species during his time on New Busan. He had learned to recognize signs of illness and injury across many different types of biology. This creature was sick. Very sick. Without help, it would not survive much longer. He carefully picked up the small being. It weighed almost nothing in his hands. The crystal scales felt warm to touch, which surprised him. Most reptile-like creatures he had encountered were cold-blooded. The creature looked up at him again with those ancient eyes. It made more of the musical crying sounds. The patterns were definitely there. rising and falling tones that repeated in specific ways. It was trying to communicate something important. Tai-Ho carried the creature to an empty examination table. Other patients and medical staff moved around the busy facility, but no one paid attention to what he was doing. Everyone was too focused on their own urgent tasks. As he placed the creature gently on the examination table, Tai-Ho noticed something else unusual. The sounds it made contained mathematical patterns. The tones followed sequences that reminded him of his old linguistics classes back at Seoul National University. Before he became a medic, he had studied languages and communication. The creature continued making the patterned sounds even as its breathing became more labored. It was trying to tell him something, trying to ask for help in the only way it knew. How Tai-Ho looked into those wise ancient eyes and made a decision. He would find a way to understand what this small being was trying to say. Whatever it took, he would decode its language and help it survive. The tired human medic did not know that this moment would change everything, not just for him and the small creature, but for all of humanity and the entire galaxy. Word count: 1,049 words. Description: glow. This opening part establishes the exhausted human medic in an overwhelming alien medical facility, introducing the mysterious crystalline dragon-like creature, whose musical language patterns hint at deeper intelligence. The scene builds tension through Tai-Ho's fatigue and the creature's desperate condition, while setting up the linguistic mystery that will drive the entire story forward. Tai-Ho gently placed his scanner over the small creature's body. The device beeped and showed readings he had never seen before. The creature's heart beat in a strange rhythm that seemed to match the musical sounds it kept making. Its body temperature shifted between hot and cold in patterns that made no sense. The crystal scales on its skin pulsed with faint light every few seconds. Each pulse matched exactly with the crying sounds. Tai-Ho realized the creature was not just making noise. Its whole body was part of its communication system. He pressed the call button on his desk. Within minutes, Communications Officer So-Young Park arrived carrying the standard Galactic Council Universal Translator. The device was the size of a small book and covered in blinking lights. It could translate over 10,000 known alien languages in real time. So-Young was younger than Tai-Ho and full of energy, despite working the same long shifts. Her black hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail and her uniform was still clean and pressed. She looked at the small creature with curiosity. "What do we have here?" she asked, as she set up the translator device on the examination table. The machine hummed to life and began scanning the creature with blue light beams. "I found it collapsed near my workstation," Tai-Ho explained. "It keeps making these sounds that seem like language, but I cannot understand them." So-Young nodded and adjusted the translator settings. "This thing can handle any known species communication. Just give it a few minutes to analyze the patterns." The creature continued making its musical crying sounds. The crystal scales pulsed with each tone. Its ancient eyes looked back and forth between the two humans as if it understood they were trying to help. The translator worked for several minutes. Blue light scanned the creature from every angle. The device recorded each sound and vibration. Numbers and symbols flashed across its small screen as it processed the information. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of producing translated words, the device began making harsh static noises. The screen flickered and showed error messages in bright red text. Sparks shot from the side panels. So-Young quickly shut off the machine before it could be damaged further. She looked confused and worried. "I have never seen it do that before. The translator should be able to handle any biological communication system." Tai-Ho watched the creature carefully. When the translator was working, the small being had seemed hopeful. Now that the machine was silent, it looked sad again. The musical sounds became quieter and more desperate. "Maybe we need to call Dr. Kyung-Min Lee," So-Young suggested. "If anyone can figure out what species this is, it would be him." Dr. Kyung-Min Lee was the chief xenobiologist for the colony. He had studied alien life forms for over 20 years and knew more about non-human biology than anyone else on New Busan. When he arrived at the medical bay 30 minutes later, he brought several assistants and a cart full of testing equipment. Kyung-Min was a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes behind thick glasses. He moved with the careful precision of a scientist who had learned not to make assumptions about alien life. His assistants began setting up scanners and computers around the examination table. "Interesting specimen," Kyung-min said as he looked at the creature through a magnifying device. "The scale structure is unlike anything in our databases, and these wing formations are completely unique." He ran several tests using different types of scanners. Each device provided more data, but no clear answers. The creature's DNA did not match any known species. Its organ structure was unlike anything previously discovered. Even its cellular composition was mysterious. "According to our records, this species does not exist," Kyung-min announced after reviewing all the test results. "Its physiology defies most of what we know about biological development." The creature had grown weaker during the testing. Its breathing was more labored and the crystal scales had become even duller. The musical sounds continued, but they were faint now. Tae-ho felt frustrated. Every minute that passed made the creature's condition worse. Without understanding what it needed, they could not provide proper medical treatment. Standard alien medicine might help, or it might make things worse. "Can we try a different translator?" So Young asked. "Maybe a backup unit or something more advanced?" Kyung-min shook his head. "The universal translator is the most sophisticated communication device we have. If it cannot process this creature's language, then the problem is not with our technology." Tae-ho pulled out his personal notebook and began writing down the sounds the creature made. He used basic phonetic symbols he remembered from his university linguistics courses. The patterns became clearer when he wrote them on paper. "What are you doing?" So Young asked. "Old-fashioned language analysis," Tae-ho replied without looking up from his writing. "Before we had universal translators, humans had to decode languages manually. Maybe that approach will work better." The other medical staff thought he was wasting time. They had dozens of other patients who needed attention. Spending hours on one unknown creature seemed inefficient when they could help multiple beings using proven methods. But something deep in Tae-ho's mind told him the creature's language held important secrets. The mathematical patterns in its sounds were too complex to be random. The way its whole body participated in communication suggested intelligence far beyond what its small size might indicate. As the night shift began, Tae-ho continued documenting every sound the creature made. The small being seemed to understand what he was doing. It repeated certain sound patterns when it saw him writing them down, almost like it was trying to teach him. The tired medic had no idea that he was beginning to unlock the most advanced communication system in the known galaxy. Word count: 1,048 words. Description: Glow Part 2 escalates the mystery by showing how advanced galactic technology fails completely when faced with the creature's communication system. The introduction of So-Young Park and Dr. Kyung-min Lee adds scientific expertise while emphasizing how unprecedented this species is. Tae-ho's decision to use manual linguistic analysis instead of relying on technology sets up the human approach that will prove superior to galactic methods, establishing the core HFY theme that human intuition and determination can succeed where advanced alien technology fails. Tae-ho had not slept for 4 nights straight. His eyes burned and his hands shook from too much coffee, but he could not stop working. The notebook in front of him was filled with pages of symbols and patterns. Each page represented hours of listening to the small creature's musical language. The creature lay on the examination table looking weaker than before. Its crystal scales barely glowed now, and the gossamer wings had folded completely against its tiny body. But it still made the musical sounds whenever Tae-ho was nearby, almost like it was trying to help him understand. Other medical staff walked past the examination area shaking their heads. They thought Tae-ho was wasting valuable time that could be spent helping patients they knew how to treat. Dr. Kyung-min Lee had suggested moving the creature to a research facility where it could be studied properly. But Tae-ho refused to give up. Something in those ancient eyes told him the creature was running out of time. If he could not decode its language soon, it would be too late to help. He spread his notes across the desk and studied the patterns again. The sounds definitely followed mathematical sequences, but they were more complex than any human language he had studied. The tones operated on multiple levels at the same time. Then, Tai-ho remembered something his grandmother Mal-soon had taught him years ago. She had been a traditional Korean musician who specialized in gyeogeum performances. She always said that true music was not just about individual notes but about how different frequencies combine to create harmony. Music is layers, she would tell him. Each string vibrates alone, but together they make something beautiful that no single string can create. Tai-ho looked at his medical scanner with new eyes. The device could analyze multiple frequencies at once. He had been using it to check the creature's vital signs, but maybe it could do more. He adjusted the scanner settings to record frequency patterns instead of medical data. When the creature made its musical sounds, the scanner showed something amazing. The creature was not just making one sound at a time. It was producing multiple different frequencies simultaneously. The scanner display showed layers of sound waves, stacked on top of each other like floors in a building. Each layer carried different information. The universal translator had failed because it was designed to process single-frequency communication. This creature's language operated on dimensional levels that galactic technology could not understand. Tai-ho worked through the night connecting his scanner to the medical bay computer system. He wrote simple programs that could separate the different frequency layers and analyze them individually. His programming skills were basic, but he understood what he was trying to accomplish. By morning, he had created a crude translation system using medical equipment and computer software. It was not elegant like galactic technology, but it could process multi-dimensional sound patterns. When Tai-ho activated his makeshift translator, the first word that appeared on the screen made his heart race. The computer displayed one simple word in human letters: mother. The small creature had been calling for its mother. Tai-ho leaned closer to the examination table and spoke softly to the creature. I understand now. You're looking for your family. The creature's crystal scales pulsed brighter than they had in days. It lifted its head and made more complex sounds. Tai-ho's translation system worked slowly, but it began converting the musical language into words he could read. Lost, scared, home far away, mother searching, family worried. Each translated phrase revealed more about the creature's situation. It was not just sick or injured. It was separated from its people and desperately trying to find them. The constant crying sounds were distress calls that had been broadcasting across space. As Tai-ho improved his translation system, the creature became more responsive. It began making longer statements that his computer could process. The language was incredibly sophisticated with concepts that human words could barely express. We are Vorthak, old people. Stars were young when we first flew. Waited long time for someone to hear true voice. Others hear only noise. You hear words. Tai-ho realized he was communicating with a member of an ancient alien civilization. The Vorthak had been trying to contact other species for a very long time, but their advanced language made communication impossible. Every other species heard their attempts as background noise or random sounds. The creature continued speaking through Tai-ho's translation system. Council ships heard our voices, thought we were just cosmic sounds, but we have watched. We have waited, looking for people who could learn to listen properly. How long have your people been trying to make contact? Tai-ho asked through his system. Many of your human centuries. We sent messages, but no species could understand. Until now, you learned our voice without machines. You used heart and mind together like music. Tai-ho understood that something extraordinary was happening. Humans were apparently the first species capable of naturally decoding Vorthak communication. Not through superior technology, but through intuition and pattern recognition, combined with stubborn determination. The small creature, which Tai-ho still thought of as Little Star, explained more about its people. We test younger species. See? If they have wisdom to communicate without force, you pass test. You chose to help instead of capture. You learned instead of giving up. As the translation became clearer, Tai-ho learned that Little Star was not just any Vorthak. It was a member of the royal family sent on a diplomatic mission to evaluate human potential. But something had gone wrong, and it became separated from The Vorthak fleet. The breakthrough filled Taeho with excitement but also worry. If the Vorthak were as advanced as Little Star suggested, then first contact with them could change everything for humanity. The question was whether that change would be good or bad. Word count, 1,047 words. Description. Glow. Part 3 delivers the crucial breakthrough where Taeho's human intuition and grandmother's musical wisdom unlock the multi-dimensional Vorthak language. The revelation that this is actually a test of humanity's communication abilities raises the stakes dramatically, while establishing that the small creature is royal family member on a diplomatic mission. This part transforms the story from a medical rescue into a first contact scenario with galaxy-changing implications. Nurse Hyunwoo Choi arrived for his shift to find Taeho surrounded by cables and electronic equipment. The medical scanner was connected to 3 different computers, and the examination table looked more like an engineering workshop than a treatment area. "What is all this?" Hyunwoo asked as he looked at the strange setup. "A communication system," Taeho replied without taking his eyes off the computer screens. "I can talk to our patient now." Hyunwoo was a practical man who had worked in medical facilities for 15 years. He had seen many doctors become obsessed with difficult cases, but this seemed extreme even for Taeho. "You built a translator out of medical equipment?" "The creature's language operates on multiple frequency dimensions," Taeho explained. "Standard translators cannot process that kind of communication, so I made something that can." The small creature, which Taeho called Little Star, was looking much better than before. Its crystal scales had regained some of their rainbow glow, and its breathing was steady. Most importantly, its ancient eyes seemed alert and hopeful. Hyun-Woo watched as Taeho typed commands into his makeshift system. The creature responded with musical sounds that the computers converted into text on the screen. It was actually working. "This is incredible," Hyun-Woo said as he read the translated words. "You are really communicating with it." "Not it," Taeho corrected. "Little Star is a he, and he has been trying to tell us something very important." Through the translation system, Little Star explained more about his people and their mission. The Vorthak had been watching human development for decades. They were impressed by human curiosity and determination, but wanted to test human character before making official contact. "We needed to know if humans would help stranger in need," Little Star communicated through the system. "Many species talk about compassion but act with selfishness when tested. Humans chose to help even when it was difficult." Hyunwoo helped Taeho improve the communication device by adding more medical scanners and frequency generators. They worked together to create a proper two-way translation system that could handle complex conversations. As the system became more sophisticated, Little Star revealed information that changed everything they thought they knew about the galaxy. The Vorthak were not just another alien species. They were the oldest spacefaring civilization in known space. "We flew between stars when your galaxy was young," Little Star explained. "We watched as new species learned to build ships and leave their homeworlds. We have seen civilizations rise and fall across millions of years. The technology that the Galactic Council considered advanced was primitive compared to Vorthak capabilities. They possessed ships that could travel between galaxies in days instead of years. Their science allowed them to manipulate space and time in ways that other species could not imagine." "Why have you stayed hidden for so long?" Taeho asked through the translation system. "We learned that revealing ourselves too early causes problems," Little Star replied. "Younger species become dependent on our help instead of developing their own strengths, or they become frightened and try to fight us. We prefer to wait and watch." Little Star explained that the Vorthak had been testing various species throughout the galaxy for centuries. They would send young members of their society to make contact with developing civilizations. Most species either ignored the Vorthak or tried to capture them for study. "Humans are first to decode our language naturally," Little Star said. "Others need machines to understand simple concepts, but you used intuition and pattern recognition. You combined logic with emotion, like true wisdom." Hyunwoo realized the implications of what they were learning. If your people are so advanced, why do you need to test anyone? Why not just ignore younger species completely? Because isolation leads to stagnation, Little Star answered. Even ancient people can learn new things from younger civilizations. Humans have qualities that we find interesting. Your stubbornness and refusal to give up. Your ability to find solutions when technology fails. The conversation was interrupted when maintenance worker Jin Song burst into the medical bay. She looked excited and worried at the same time. "Dr. Taeho," she said breathlessly. "You need to see this. The communication array has been picking up strange signals for days. They started right around the time you found that creature." Jin led them to the colony's main communications center, where massive dishes pointed towards space. The control room was filled with monitoring equipment that tracked all radio traffic in the system. "Look at this," Jin said as she pointed to a display screen. "These signals have been broadcasting continuously. The pattern matches exactly with the sounds your patient was making." Taeho realized what was happening. Little Star's distress calls had been amplified by the colony's communication equipment. The signals were broadcasting across the galaxy strong enough to be detected by ships light years away. "My family heard my calls," Little Star confirmed through the translation system. "They are coming to find me. But so are others who do not understand what the signals mean." Through the communication array, they detected multiple fleets approaching the New Busan system. Some were Vorthak ships coming to rescue their lost royal family member, but others belonged to various military factions that had detected the unusual signals and wanted to investigate. "How long before they arrive?" Hyun-woo asked. Jin-Dashi checked her calculations. "The first ships will be here within 2 days, maybe less." Little Star explained that the approaching situation was dangerous for everyone involved. "If other species capture me, they will try to force my people to share technology. This always leads to conflict. War between species with such different power levels destroys worlds." Taeho understood that their small medical facility was about to become the center of a galactic diplomatic crisis. The decisions made in the next few days could determine whether humanity gained powerful allies or made deadly enemies. The tired medic who had just wanted to help a sick creature now held the fate of his entire species in his hands. Word count: 1,047 words. Description: Glow. Part 4 reveals the true scope of the situation as Little Star is revealed to be royalty from the galaxy's most ancient and powerful civilization. The addition of Hyun-woo as a collaborator and Jin-A's discovery of the amplified distress signals escalates the stakes to galactic proportions. Multiple fleets now approach New Busan, setting up the political and military tensions that will define the story's climax. The revelation that this was all a test of human character transforms Taeho from a simple medic into humanity's first diplomatic representative to a species that could reshape galactic civilization. Dr. Yoon Ji-yoon read the urgent message from the Galactic Council headquarters 3 times before she believed what it was saying. As director of the New Busan colony, she had seen many official orders, but nothing like this. The message was marked with the highest security classification and came directly from the Council's military command. It demanded immediate surrender of both the alien creature and all translation data that had been developed. A fleet led by Admiral Hae-sung Kang was already en route to secure both assets for Council research. Yoon-Ji walked quickly to the medical bay where she found Taeho and his team working with their improvised communication system. Little Star was sitting up on the examination table, looking much healthier than when he had first arrived. "We have a problem," Yoon-Ji announced, as she showed Taeho the official message. "The Council wants to take custody of your patient and confiscate all your research." Taeho read the message with growing concern. The language was formal, but the meaning was clear. The Galactic Council considered Little Star a potential threat that needed to be contained rather than protected. They wanted to study both the creature and the translation technology for possible military applications. "They cannot do this," Hyun-woo protested. "This is a medical patient, not a military asset." "Actually, they can," Yoon-Ji replied sadly. "The Council Charter gives them authority over all first contact situations. They classify this as a potential security matter." Through the translation system, Little Star had been following the conversation. His ancient eyes showed understanding and sadness. "I feared this would happen," he communicated. Your leaders think like many others. They see opportunity for power instead of chance for friendship. Tae-ho asked Little Star what the Council's actions would mean for the approaching Vorthak fleet. The answer was deeply troubling. My people will assume I am being held prisoner, Little Star explained. They will demand my release. If Council ships try to keep me as hostage, my family will respond with force to protect me. How much force? Yoonji asked. Vorthak ships can destroy entire star systems if necessary. Little Star replied matter-of-factly. We prefer peace, but we protect family above all else. The implications were staggering. The Galactic Council's attempt to weaponize first contact with the Vorthak could lead to a war that would devastate multiple worlds. The Council military did not understand what they were preparing to fight. Jin-A Song arrived with updates from the communication center. 3 separate fleets are approaching our system. The Vorthak ships will arrive first, but Council forces are only hours behind them. There are also ships from the Hegemony and the Trade Federation. Every major galactic power had detected the unusual signals and was sending military forces to investigate. New Busan Colony was about to become a battlefield between species with weapons that could crack planets. We need to evacuate the civilian population, Yoonji decided. If fighting breaks out here, the colony will not survive. But Tae-ho had a different idea. Through his conversations with Little Star, he had learned something important about Vorthak psychology. They valued actions over words. The decision humans made in the next few hours would determine their relationship with the ancient species forever. What if we refuse to hand over Little Star, he suggested. What if we choose to protect him instead of following council orders? Yoonji stared at him. That would be mutiny. The council would court-martial everyone involved. We could all spend the rest of our lives in prison. But it would prove to the Vorthak that humans value compassion over politics, Tae-ho argued. Little Star said they were testing our character. This might be the final test. Through the translation system, Little Star confirmed Tae-ho's understanding. My people will judge all humans by how you treat me in this crisis. If you choose personal safety over protecting the innocent, we will assume all humans think the same way. The weight of the decision fell on everyone in the medical bay. They were not politicians or military leaders. They were doctors and support staff who had just wanted to help a sick patient, but now they had to choose between following orders and doing what they believed was right. Security Chief Dong-hyun Park arrived with news that made the decision even more urgent. Council ships have entered the system. They are demanding immediate compliance with their orders. If we refuse, they will use force to take the creature. Tae-ho looked at his colleagues and saw the fear in their eyes. But he also saw determination. They had all spent days working to save Little Star's life. None of them wanted to hand him over to be used as a political weapon. I am staying with Little Star, Tae-ho announced. Anyone who wants to evacuate should do so now. But I will not abandon my patient. Hyunwoo stepped forward. I am staying, too. We took an oath to protect those in our care. Jinny nodded. The communication equipment might be useful for negotiations. I can keep the systems running. One by one, the medical staff chose to stay and protect Little Star rather than follow council orders. Even Yoonji made the difficult decision to support her people over her superiors. If we are going to do this, we need to be smart about it, she said. The council will try to take Little Star by force. We need to find a way to hold them off until the Vorthak fleet arrives. Dong-hyun began organizing defensive positions around the medical facility. His security team was small, but they knew the colony layout better than any invading force. If they could delay council forces for even a few hours, it might be enough. As alarms began sounding across New Busan Colony, Tae-ho sat beside Little Star and continued their conversation through the translation system. The small creature's crystal scales pulsed with grateful light. You risk much for someone you barely know, Little Star communicated. That is what makes us human. Tae-ho replied. Word count. 1,046 words. Description. Glow Part 5 introduces the central conflict as the Galactic Council attempts to seize Little Star for military purposes. forcing the human medical team to choose between following orders and protecting their patient. The revelation that this decision will determine humanity's relationship with the powerful Vorthak civilization forever raises the stakes to their highest point. The human choice to risk everything to protect Little Star, even against overwhelming military force, exemplifies the core HFY theme that human compassion and moral courage can triumph over political expediency and superior firepower. The first Council warship landed outside New Busan Colony as the morning sun painted the sky orange and red. Admiral Hai-Sung Kang emerged from the ship wearing full military armor and carrying weapons designed to subdue alien life forms. Behind him marched 50 armed soldiers ready to take Little Star by force. Tae-Ho watched from the medical bay windows as more Council ships landed around the colony. The humans had no military defenses that could stop such a force. Their only hope was that the Vorthak fleet would arrive before the Council could complete their mission. "They are setting up containment fields around the building," Dong-hyun reported from his security station. "We have maybe 10 minutes before they breach the medical bay." Little Star remained calm despite the approaching danger. His crystal scales pulsed with steady light as he communicated through Tae-Ho's translation system. "My family's ships have entered your star system. They are still several hours away, but they know I am in danger." "Can they arrive faster?" Hyunwoo asked. "Vorthak ships can move quickly when needed," Little Star replied. "But Council forces will not wait. They plan to take me off-world before my people can intervene." Admiral Kang's voice echoed through external speakers as he addressed the medical facility. "By order of the Galactic Council, you will immediately surrender the alien creature and all research materials. Anyone who resists will be charged with mutiny and treason." Yoonji activated the colony's communication system to respond. "We refuse your demands. This creature is a medical patient under our protection. We will not allow you to use him as a weapon." The Admiral's reply was swift and threatening. "You have 5 minutes to comply, or we will take the creature by force. Any humans who interfere will be considered enemy combatants." Tae-Ho felt the weight of the moment. Everything he and his colleagues had worked for came down to this choice. They could surrender Little Star and save their own lives, or they could stand firm and face the consequences. Through the translation system, Little Star spoke to all the humans in the medical bay. "You have already proven your worth to my people. No one will blame you for choosing safety, but know that your decision here will affect all future contact between our species." The building shook as Council forces began their assault. Energy weapons cut through the outer walls while soldiers moved into position. Dong-hyun and his small security team did their best to slow the advance, but they were vastly outnumbered. Just as Council soldiers reached the medical bay entrance, something extraordinary happened. The sky outside suddenly filled with ships unlike anything anyone had ever seen. The Vorthak fleet had arrived ahead of schedule. The alien vessels were beautiful beyond description. They looked like living creatures made of crystal and light, rather than mechanical constructs. They moved through space with grace and power that made even advanced Council warships seem primitive. Admiral Kang's confident voice suddenly became uncertain as his fleet detected the approaching Vorthak ships. "Unknown vessels, this is Admiral Kang of the Galactic Council. Identify yourselves and state your intentions." The Vorthak response came through every communication device on the planet simultaneously. The voice was ancient and powerful, but also gentle. It spoke in perfect galactic standard language that every species could understand. "We are the Vorthak. We have come for our family member who is under the protection of humans. We do not wish conflict, but we will not allow harm to come to our young one." Tae-Ho realized this was the moment that would determine everything. The Vorthak could easily destroy the Council fleet, but they were choosing diplomacy first. They wanted to see how humans would handle the situation. Through his translation system, Little Star provided guidance. "Tell them what you have chosen. Let them know humans picked compassion over safety." Tae-Ho activated the colony's main communication array to broadcast his message to both fleets. His voice carried across the star system as he explained what had happened over the past few days. "The Vorthak child came to us sick and alone. We could have ignored him or used him for research, Instead, we chose to heal him and learn his language. When our own government ordered us to hand him over as a weapon, we chose to protect him instead. The communication channel fell silent as both fleets processed this information. Then, the ancient, Vorthak voice spoke again with clear approval. Humans have passed the final test. You chose wisely when technology failed. You showed compassion to a stranger. Most importantly, you protected the innocent even when it put you at risk. These are the qualities we have been seeking. What happened next surprised everyone, including the Council forces. The Vorthak fleet did not attack or make demands. Instead, they opened direct communication channels with the human colony and began formal diplomatic discussions. The ancient species announced that they were establishing an exclusive alliance with humanity. They would share advanced medical technologies and communication systems while bypassing the Galactic Council entirely. Other species that had dismissed humans as primitive newcomers suddenly found themselves excluded from the most advanced civilization. In known space, Admiral Kang found himself in an impossible position. The Council had sent him to capture a valuable alien specimen, but instead he had triggered first contact with a species more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever seen. His superiors would not be pleased. The Vorthak made their position clear. Any attempt to harm humans or interfere with the new alliance would result in immediate retaliation. Given their technological superiority, no galactic power was willing to challenge them directly. Little Star was finally reunited with his family aboard one of the crystal ships. But before leaving, he made sure Tejo understood the significance of what had occurred. "You will establish the first human Vorthak Linguistic Institute," Little Star communicated. "Humans will become the galaxy's premier diplomatic species because you understand that true communication requires more than technology. It requires heart." Years later, Dr. Tejo Kim stood in the medical gardens of New Seoul Station watching Little Star's offspring play among the healing plants. The station had become the galaxy's new diplomatic capital, where understanding transcended species barriers. The tired medic who had once struggled to stay awake in an overcrowded medical bay had become humanity's first ambassador to the most advanced species in the universe. His choice to help one crying alien child had elevated his entire species to unprecedented heights among the stars. As he watched the young Vorthak playing with human children, Tejo remembered his grandmother's words about music being layers of harmony. The galaxy had become like that music, with different species contributing their unique strengths to create something beautiful that no single civilization could achieve alone. And it all began with one human who refused to give up on a stranger in need. Word count: 1,048 words. Description: glow. Part 6 delivers the climactic confrontation where humanity's moral choice proves superior to military force, leading to an exclusive alliance with the galaxy's most powerful species. The Vorthak's arrival transforms a hostage situation into humanity's elevation to premier diplomatic status, while Admiral Kang's forces are left powerless against ancient technology. The story concludes with Tejo as an elder ambassador, showing how one medic's compassionate choice to protect an alien child ultimately reshaped galactic civilization and established humans as the galaxy's premier mediating species through empathy rather than conquest.